let's just kick off and you tell us like where you got inspiration for this story, or actually a little bit of a summary, and then let's do the inspiration.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with the summary. So, Never Over is about an inspiring songwriter named Paige who has just completed her music degree at Belmont, which is a school that's, very much known for music in Nashville, Tennessee. And she has the opportunity to sign with a music publisher, but the executive says, I think that your melodies are really great, but your lyrics could use some work. What can you do? So she has the bright idea to reach out to her first love, her, first flame, and ask him to break her heart again, so that she can remember what it felt like when she was first inspired and first fell in love with songwriting. So the book is about the journey of Paige and Liam, who is the male main character, reaching back out to each other, connecting. And Liam is a music executive, or sorry, like a tour. Sorry, my dog right here is just, as soon as she hears me start talking, she's like, "What are you doing? Give me attention." So Liam is a tour manager, and they, in the present timeline, they go on this tour with this band that he is helping manage. And then in the past timeline, because it's a dual timeline book, you get to see how they fell in love in the first place. So dual timeline, second chance romance book, heavily featuring like a music industry vibe. So that is the pitch. And then to answer your question about how I was inspired for to write this book, I am from Nashville. I have always been surrounded by the music industry. It's something that has very much been in the background of my life for a really long time. And I wanted to write about specifically a songwriter because I feel like we get a lot of books in the industry where somebody is famous, whether it's one character, both characters. I love a good celebrity normie romance. Trust me, I do. But I wanted to specifically write about a songwriter because not always are they famous. And one thing about Paige in this book is that she is going to be a shy girl start to finish, and she very much is who she is, and kind of has to go on this journey of, how do I be in such an outward facing career, but still be who I am, and write songs and not really want to be on stage. So those are the inspirations kind of behind like the seed of the idea. And then from there, just like everything kind of fell into place, and a ton of other influences came in, and the book grew and grew. But that's kind of where it started.
Well, I definitely wanted to ask about Paige and just the duality of her and why it was important for that to be part of her story, because she is a
Mhm.
person who has, the aspiration to be a songwriter, but also simultaneously there are things she wants to keep to herself. And so how important was it for that there to be that like public versus private, and when to know which to keep which?
Yeah, I love that question so much. So I feel like one thing that is kind of common in book character story arcs is that they'll like reach this point in like the 70-80% mark, call it like a third act, where, they're like, the nerdy girl takes off her glasses and like gets a haircut, and she's like, and I've always been beautiful. Or like some shy character decides like that they really do deserve to be in the spotlight. And I kind of wanted to play into that a little bit, like maybe lead you down the path of thinking that that is where the story was going to go. And then at the end, and I don't really think that this is a spoiler, because like I really do want to to be clear that like Paige is the type of person that she is throughout the entire book. But like she knows what her boundaries are and what line she doesn't want to cross when it comes to her career and like how she wants to show up in the world and what kind of person she wants to be and how she wants to be represented. And she does not deviate from that. Like she really sticks to her guns. So I had like so much fun kind of like taking that slightly predictable character arc and kind of giving it a little twist at the end of the story. I think that readers are responding to it pretty well and find it refreshing, which is great. But for me, it was just it was the exact character that I wanted to write, and she really showed up on the page in a way that I'm really proud of and happy with.
Well, thinking about Liam, he's different in the sense of he has this quality where he's always going to push someone to do more.
Yeah.
And that helps and hurts him with his relationship with Paige, especially the first time around,
Mhm.
without giving too much away. But as they re-explore their connection, it also is not a quality that he loses. That is still something that he maintains, and like Paige, it doesn't just go away. So how were you able to find that balance between him staying true to himself while also like recognizing when it was time to support Paige versus pressuring her?
Mhm. Liam is so different than Paige. He is a performer. He, in the past timeline of the book, he is a college pitcher for the University of Tennessee. And one thing about baseball, you can actually say this about all sports, so I won't narrow it to baseball, but one thing about sports is athletes are quite literally performing for a huge group of people, and I'm not just talking about when they're actually doing the athletic part, but like, athletes are going to do the little dance when they score a touchdown, or for baseball you have the walk up song. Um, and I think that this is just his personality, is he's very much okay with and able to be perceived by other people. It is sometimes to his detriment, which is something that he goes through on with his own character arc throughout the story. But like you said, it does sort of sabotage him in his relationship with Paige in the past timeline. So you get to see the way that these two characters tweak how they like behave and communicate with each other and show one another love and like represent themselves to each other and then to the rest of the world, and then how they are ultimately still iterations of themselves through the past timeline and present timeline of the book. And I very much hope that it doesn't feel like you're reading a book about four different people. It should feel like you're reading a book about two different people who you recognize in, like, you can see in a present chapter how something from the past influenced her or him, and vice versa. Um, it was a lot of work. Like I say that I'm not going to write another dual timeline book for a while because it was just, I mean, it was such an undertaking. But I, again, like, I think that it really paid off for this particular story, and it was the right format for these two for this story.
Well, the story is also unique because from the onset of the like rekindled relationship, the goal is to fall back in love. So, and I hope I'm not giving too much away with that, but like that is the goal. That is what they hope to happen. But they also recognize very honestly with one another that might not be where things end up. So, what was the key to pacing the story so it didn't feel rushed, but that the journey was filled with enough anticipation to keep the readers like invested?
Yeah. Okay, I'm popping the tab of my Olipop and having a little sip.
Go for it.
Um, yeah, so like you said, the book, like, from it's in the premise, right? It's on the back cover copy that she is asking him to break her heart, which for most romance novels is like the will they, won't they, third act conflict that as a reader of the genre, you know it's coming, But, if you're thinking about it in reality, in a real relationship, you never know if that heartbreak is going to come or not, especially in a new relationship. So doing it this way was um, almost like a way of building suspense in a way that I don't think that we get very often, or at least I haven't gotten to explore in my previous two books. So there's a few ways that we're like kind of building this like anticipation or suspense in Never Over. And one of them is the fact that that a heartbreak is like kind of like a finish line here. Liam decides that he's not like totally on board, and Paige kind of has to sell him on it. So that was like a fun kind of conversation to have, where you have this like very open honest dialogue pretty early on in the book about what this relationship is going to be like. I don't necessarily call this book a fake dating trope plot, but like you kind of get some of those aspects in there, because they do have like a intimacy pact where they're not gonna get physical at all. So like you kind of have that also building the tension, because yes, it's a real relationship, but like how much of themselves are they gonna give to it when they know, that it could end. Um, so those were just some of the different like kind of tricks and writing tactics that I employed to like make it more fun.
You did such a great job because like I said, I think it's unique in the sense that most second chance romances, they don't come about like mutually sought after. It's like this happened and we accept it, but we weren't planning for it. So I really loved the take that that's the goal. Let's see how we can get to it. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was really unique and fun.
A lot of people have told me like I never thought this premise would work or like when I read the description I thought that was like the kookiest thing I'd ever heard, but like lo and behold, you made it happen, you made it work. And I love that. Like I've had fun with people telling me like this is crazy, I can't believe that you decided to write this. But it's even more rewarding when people are like, you took it in a direction I wasn't expecting, and I was like very satisfied.
So one of the other themes on Paige is Paige's codependence. It's something that she's dealt with her whole life, whether it's her sisters, her friends, Liam, whoever she's dating. And as she gets older and life happens, her dependence shifts and she becomes more reliant on herself. And we do get to experience part of that journey. Um, but like one of the things that I found so beautiful was her growth in the sense of learning how to depend on yourself while also being able to figure out like the healthy way to get comfort from a partner and to like seek a healthy, mutually beneficial relationship. So it kind of felt like you wrote permission granted to depend on another person for different things.
Mm-hmm.
So why, and I don't know, to me it felt like it was very specifically done. So why did you want that to be such a big part of her story?
Yeah. I think it originally came from me playing around with sibling dynamics. I myself am an oldest child. So like the way that I show up in my family, and even I think the way that I show up outside of my family, is very much informed by my birth order. For Paige, I think it's the same. And I think it extends beyond her relationship to her family into her personal relationships. So Paige is the youngest of five girls, and she grew up in a family that was mostly single parented. So her older sisters had to take on a lot of responsibility, and Paige kind of fell into this role of being the baby of the family and feeling like sad when her older sisters would graduate high school and go off and be like, I wish my family was all together and everybody's always leaving me. You know, my mom left my family, my older sisters are growing up and leaving my family. So she has pretty intense abandonment issues. And that 100% shows up in her relationship with Liam. I think that like my favorite thing about Liam is that he recognizes this in her from the start and he does not take advantage of that. Like there you can and like I think many women have been in relationships where a a partner is going to exploit something about you that is like an insecurity of yours. And what was really great to write was for Liam, he sees this about her immediately and he says, I see this in you. I'm not going to take advantage of it. And I'm not going to let you continue to like fall victim to that pattern yourself. Obviously, for Paige, this is a really tough pill to swallow. Anybody doesn't want to face like their biggest insecurities, the parts of themselves that like they probably need to work on in therapy. But Liam like really he like confronts it head on. And it I think that this is what makes him to me like such a great romance hero and like the type of guy that I like to swoon over and that I think that my readers like to swoon over. Um, so I loved writing that for him. And like you said, it was 100% intentional, very much thought out, and like I hope was done with care because I think a lot of readers can relate to it.
I loved that aspect so much because I feel like it's something that so often there's like a magical fix for, or it's just not acknowledged. And it was really lovely how you weaved it in so well and like you said about Liam, just kind of confronted that head on and
Hmm.
let's see where this goes. But speaking of handling things with care, there are heavier topics. We have the abandonment issues, there's death in the family, um, career ending types of injuries, those sorts of things. So, what is your approach to handling those things with care?
Oh wow. What an amazing question. So when I think this is the heaviest book I've written for sure. Um my like I think about I definitely think that Never Over still qualifies as a rom-com for sure. But like you said, Liam is has recently off page, but somewhat recently lost his father, and this is true from pretty much the beginning of the book. And he is 100% dealing with that in our past timeline of the book, and sort of it is informing his relationship with Paige. Paige is dealing with kind of the things that we already talked about. I think that as I mature as a writer, my ability to handle sensitive topics hopefully matures too. Um, I definitely feel like as I've gained perspective in being an author, read more broadly in my genre, and worked with sensitivity readers in the past and like kind of understood what is the community caring about, paying attention to, like what things in a book make somebody feel understood or what things in a book alienate people. So these are all things that I'm considering all the time and still am. And I will by no means sit here and say that the representation in my book is ever going to be spot on because we're all different and like we all handle things differently. Grief, abandonment, like childhood family dynamics. Like you could be the youngest child and completely not relate to Paige's experience. So I will definitely not say that it's perfect. But the longer that I spend being an author, the more comfortable, I feel, handling heavier topics deftly. So I think that's kind of like why this book has trended that way, and possibly, why you may see, some slightly like more emotional topics in my books in the future as well.
Well, I think it was, I mean, I keep saying it, but it was done so well. I think that it felt very authentic, even not having gone through many of the challenging things. Like, it's relatable in just the humanity aspect of it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
great job. Um, I'm curious to know, for the three of your books, they have all been written single POV.
hmm
So, is there a reason behind that? And also, what was it like writing single POV while also writing a dual timeline?
Yes. My books will probably never say never. My books will probably always be single POV because I just feel so dug in to the female protagonist that I cannot bear to leave her. So that is where I'm at right now. Catch me, in a few years, maybe something will have changed. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. Um, so that's kind of why I just like get really dug in to the female main character, and I don't want to leave her head. I also think that for my writing style, I like the idea of not knowing what's going on in a male protagonist's head. It's fun for me to kind of like tease that out. As an author, I'm discovering it too. So I have a lot of fun there. In terms of the dual timeline of it all, drafting, I drafted this book chronologically, like the way it's written. So like what you see is the way that I drafted it. But in revisions, it took a ton of chopping work, and we would move a chapter up. We would combine chapters. We deleted some stuff. And when I say me, I mean me and my editor. So that was definitely a heavier lift because there are things that were informing each other that, if you change this chapter, it's going to screw this up and got to rework this here. It was definitely a much heavier revision process than I've done before. I think that's just the nature of it being dual timeline. But I do think the book benefited from the edits. Like, tightening things at the beginning, and like making the timelines, because you have to almost do more lifting because you're telling two stories in the same amount of pages. So everything has to be super tight. Things have to happen fast so that you can tell those two stories in the same amount of pages. So an interesting exercise for sure. And like I said, I'll probably take a little bit of a break from that format for a while.
What did the final word count end up being?
So all of my books are around the same. I do think Never Over is potentially the longest, but they're all like right around 95,000. Yeah.
So, before you went through like the full editing process, was it way longer than that? Like, did you spend a lot more time in both timelines, or were you able to kind of keep it within those
hmm
word counts?
I think that when I submitted my first draft, it was around 91,000 words, but I remember cutting at least 7. So that means that we added like 10 or more thousand new words in revisions. Um, and if you were to ask me the split between past timeline or present timeline, I could not tell you. I have no clue at all. But for me, revising is not tweaking a word here or there. Revising is like axing, like making a hack job at chapters or scenes, and then adding stuff that's completely new to like fill gaps of what my editor thinks is missing, or like character development that isn't there yet.
Well, I mean, it sounds terrifying, but also very rewarding. So,
It is for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, like when you before, it's already hard enough to finish a draft, but then like to finish a revision that you feel like your editor is going to like give a stamp of approval to, that's a whole nother accomplishment that like when I feel good about it, I'm very relieved and cracking a bottle of champagne for sure.
Deservedly so. Um, if readers could only take away one thing from this book, what would you want that to be?
Ooh, I would want them to take away the theme of the book, which is essentially that everything that you do matters. Like everything you say, every impact you make, like every impression you make on another person, it matters, even if you don't know or like you can't see it. There's this theme in the book that really shows up at the end about the butterfly effect and like the way that we influence each other. It always sounds like a little bit more cheesy than I want it to when I'm like explaining it to someone, but really that I think that is what I would most want people to kind of take away from the story. And it kind of it shows up most in the epilogue of the book. So if you see it there, that's what I'm talking about.
And kind of pivoting for our last couple questions, what is a piece of advice that you would give to aspiring writers and authors?
I would say, sorry, I'm gonna cough real quick. Nearly better, not quite, but nearly healthy again. Um, I think my piece of advice that I would give is to just do it. Like just start. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for like a degree in like creative writing or whatever. Like just write the thing that you want to write. And because every single author started out with no words in a document, no book deal, no agent, and we all basically started from scratch. So if that's you and you're just like scared of the blank page or empty road ahead, please just get started. Like you will thank yourself if you just like go ahead and try. Really, it's like try and fail, just try.
I love that. And then last question, I'm not trying to put any pressure on you. I do, if my memory is serving me correctly, I believe you mentioned in one of your newsletters that you might not have something cooking right now, or maybe it's not near, but what is next for you?
Yeah. So this book has technically been announced. I haven't posted about it, and I'm not going to until probably next summer. But for those of you who are like super sneaky and like good with the internet, you could probably find it. Um, but it is slated for spring of 2027. And what I will say about it is that it is my first book set in North Carolina. It's set at the beach, so think North Carolina beach book. Um, I would like say like it kind of has Emily Henry vibes in that we've got. I'll give it's like some neighbors at the beach. Yeah, we'll go with that for now.
Okay, I love that. And that's something to look forward to. So that's going to be so much fun.
Thank you.
But Claire, thank you for joining me, especially while you're getting over your illness. I am so grateful. And hopefully, maybe 2027, we can do this again because I know people will want to hear about that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I know we meant to do this for Perfect Fit and we didn't manage to get it on the book. So super happy to talk to you for Never Over. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. And everyone, make sure you pick it up now. It's available. So
Yeah.
go get it. You're going to love it. But thank you so much. Good night.
All right. Good night. See you later.
Bye.